Definitely, because right now there's a lot more resources like YouTube, and for one, let's say a young musician starting out, he or she like wants to practice a certain song. All she need to do is just YouTube tutorials on the internet, and then you get to see people like showing tutorial videos of how to play certain songs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think music definitely is quite important for the kids. I think not just that they start listening to music young, they also have their memories stored. Like all of us always remember certain songs of a certain period. So it's good for the children to actually start listening to music. And the second thing is, I think music teach the kids timing. Actually, it's something that is very hard to learn. But once you actually understand music, you actually understand timing. And every time when I try to teach or advise my designers about timing, I realize those that actually play music understands it in terms of even like humor and comedy. I always talk about timing, but those with music understanding always know exactly what I'm talking about. But those that doesn't play music, it's a bit hard for them to understand. Yeah.
I definitely do think music is like one of the most important things, if you ask me. I think if you ask me, I think they should even teach music as compulsory, like line reading notes, because like I think that's the only thing that we have that uses left and right hand, right? Especially the piano. And how I always find that how you translate notes, the scores, that whatever is strange looking thing has no relation to the keys. There is no correlation visually to the expression, and it's almost like mathematical formula. It's like coding in computers, right? You can read it and you translate it. It's a very magical thing. I wish they should inculcate in all schools.
Well, as far as I know, before I could draw, my parents were telling me that I was very into singing at the time. You know, I was always watching all these TV series on TV, and all their theme songs I could sing them, whether it's the Chinese, Cantonese, or English ones. So obviously, I think for a kid, it's very interesting for them to learn language or to express themselves through music. And I also think that in our teenage years, we were quite fortunate that we have music videos at the time. So, you know, music became very visual for us.
Yeah, I was really excited when I got the brief because I always draw like based off music anyway, but it's kind of indirect and it isn't very obvious. But now it's like a chance to do it for a good cause at the same time, and it's like I think the difficult thing was like trying to figure out what song like to do, because there's just so many things that like I've thought about and that I've drawn before. So like, you know, what can we do differently this time?
I was very excited to be actually asked to do it, and most artists I spoke to share the same sentiments. Yeah, I really like the whole idea about giving it to children who need music. I think that's one of the most beautiful things, if anything, anyone can learn.
I was very excited when I was invited, and I thought the project is very cool because like taking music and using it for good. And then of course it's like music and art has always been together.
Well, I mean, Singled Out is a really interesting project. I mean, getting friends together who share a love for music and art.
I think it was a very interesting brief because like that seed of inspiration is created. No matter what I do, whether it's like, you know, anything basically, but having that the ability to learn music, I think it's really important.
I enjoy basically to be able to give back to the society. I think it's important that God gave us this talent, and we can actually make use of it to help people in a large way or in a small way, you know, to make people feel happy, to make people have the ability to do some things that if not for this they won't be able to see.
The style that I did was very similar to the way I draw my cassette cover during those days where we dubbed cassettes, because all this music that I listen to, we don't know or we can't or we don't know where to find it. So like for example the album cover I did for this project, I actually have no idea where to find the music. So what I did was I actually taped it from a VHS and connect it into a DAC, and from the DAC I output it to a cassette. And after that we need, because the cassette we use are blank, so we start to draw it. So but for ideas we look through the Skate magazine and try to replicate the kind of design. So this is exactly what I did for this album cover, to actually have that kind of the kind of look that I used to do for this kind of music that I listen to.
It was very strong because when the music came in, and the most beautiful thing I remember even growing up was the album cover Peter Saville did with the plus and minus. The reissue in 1988 or 91, yeah, it was the plus and minus, and that was always in my head. And when I felt about the whole balance, it's always about the yin and the yang. And the vinyl was designed whereby there's a plus and a minus back to back. So that is the balance. And I always feel that music itself has the strength to bring people together. It doesn't matter which color, your color, your skin, your religion. You can love the same thing. So that's what I really felt.
I said that if I can draw, I would do a song by Bob Fox, and it being like a singled out thing that where you have the vinyl that you can work with, I'll make it revolve somehow, because it will look like a turntable, and that's what a record's supposed to do, right?
And I was like, shit, that's a good idea.
And then she started building upon that idea that it's like, oh, what if I can do like animation panels? And it escalated pretty quickly. I said,
Like,
oh
yeah, just over like the cost of a meal. By the time we were on our way home, we kind of already figured out how exactly it was gonna work, like the mechanism sort of here and there.
Yeah, I kind of figured that I was very confident in saying like, yeah, I can make this thing work. Let's just do this and that. Unfortunately,
But
the process wasn't that easy.
we knew we had like what, maybe a week and a half to get it done, right? So we're like, okay, we'll draw out these scenarios, okay, settle, okay, then how are we gonna make it turn? Like, I just did like a quick sketch in Illustrator, like, and I just sent to him, okay, like, yeah, it look like this, and then I made an animated GIF, like, look, it'll turn like this, and like that, and then we thought like, okay, yeah, it's very easy, and then when we had to actually go get the materials, right, we're like, we couldn't find like a lot of the things that we needed, like certain like the screw size or like,
I think because Singapore there's not a very huge DIY culture, so it's very hard to get the tools that you need to build. So in the end, we were just left with one weekend, and I was just thinking like, how do we hack this thing? So started looking at IKEA catalog, and there's a very nice chopping board. I'm like, okay, that saves me work from sourcing the wood and cutting it. And we visit the hardware shop quite a few times, and in the end we had to fabricate our own little parts to make that thing work. And when we were looking for washers, that's when I was watching a YouTube video of a drummer playing sort of that. I was like, let's just take the felt washers off the hi-hat. We'll try to figure a way out how to cut it, slice it into half, and then use it as a washer. So that's more like a tribute to Wayne Thunder, the late drummer of the Bob Fox, because we liken the washers to be similar to what the drummer does for a band. The drummer keeps the band in time and together, and the washers was the one thing that was the final piece that we're lacking, to kind of put the entire pieces, all the pieces together, and also make it rotate as well. So yeah, that's like we thought it would be cool to have like some Easter egg on the art piece where it's not very visible, but still a good conversation piece.
I approach it like how it would be like, let's say if Gu Niang de Jewel is released as a 12-inch single, and then it was also at this time when I had this current fixation with Chinese Asian funk kind of music, and I was being exposed to all the different album covers, and it had a little slight cheesy element to it, but yet it's a bit psychedelic. So with that in mind, I kind of like put that into the design, and then I designed it like how it will look like, as if like in a parallel universe, you go to the shop and you create dig and just go through a record and say, hey, this is the 12-inch single, and you just look as per normal. You see like there's the Polydor logo there and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, obviously I've never done it before, and I work with my colleagues in the studio. We discuss about this and how to do it, and I told them that I drew a sketch and I say the premise is, it has to look like a vinyl record and it has to have the outer ring and the inner ring, and then basically it has to crack. And then I showed them some pictures of how cracking and then a reflection of a person a crack will be. I said, okay, we should make this. And then we went about looking for somebody who can cut the mirror for us. So one of my designers singing managed to find a person who was kind enough to cut the mirror for us. And we tried a few attempts to crack the mirror in a certain way to look good, so-called look good. So we tried a few attempts, and after a few attempts, we managed to get that look that we wanted.
I mean, for a start, like the title, I mean, like, it's Dead Cities, Future Sound of London. It's quite obvious that it is a kind of a city landscape and desolate, but there's also kind of I wanted to create something sculptural, something like a diorama, and something that I wanted to have a view of a landscape that populated my imagination at that age. So to a certain extent, it's kind of like a map of that inner world at that time. And yeah, I mean, like, the song itself and the album and the artwork all was like a interior universe, in that sense. So like it being like a diorama on a piece of vinyl, it's that it is that map of a person's interior world.
Actually, drawing on the vinyl was the basic things that more or less is what we want to do. Originally, it was supposed to be the canvas itself supposed to be the vinyl cover itself. But after experimenting with it, then it doesn't look very bright. So actually, when I collected more vinyls from you, hoping to make the vinyls canvas bigger, it chanced upon me that I'm thinking like, all these vinyls actually look very familiar, because I see all these photographs and videos and things like that of people awarded all these vinyls put on their wall. So I thought maybe the right thing to do to make the idea even more apparent is to make this big canvas of vinyls. Then it's made purposely for someone who buys it and to hang on his wall. And the idea of maybe the person buying it is really to show the achievement that I can afford something like that. Then I hope really, if that's the intention, then he'll be reminded of the message that we're trying to tell him.